This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, no? It is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and 3 Counts, and I actually didn't end up in Miami. We'll talk about that with my trip to Arizona for AEW in a minute. But as you can see, we've got quite the guest. Somebody that we've been talking about doing this for, at least a few years now, between Wale Mania and everything else. But now it's finally gotten to work out. Hell yeah, gotta be. Shout out to Swole for linking this one up. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we've got the debut of Cedric Alexander, man. Thanks for the time, my man.
Boom. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the time.
Hell yeah, dude. Like I said, we've been talking about this for a minute. Shout out to Swole. She had a few things that she told me specifically that if I didn't ask, she was going to kick my ass the next time I saw her. So we'll see where this one ends up.
And she means it. She means that. She said it. She means it.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm already hip, man. The only bummer is now that even though I'm so glad that her stomach's in better shape, it just sucks because that means me, her, and Faye can't have another chicken run like we did in LA, dude. That chicken that we ate at the chicken place was fucking fire, man. Every time we see each other.
I still dream about that place. It was amazing.
It was the biggest chicken strips I've ever seen in my life. And they were like, dude, I'm just saying, if you're in California, bro, just check out.
That's where we gotta go.
That's it.
Cali. Oh boy.
Hey, dude, I'm just
like
saying.
The kind of place that Swole
Cali,
would take me to just to watch me eat the food because she can't eat it. She would take me there just be like, "Yeah, I want to watch you eat this chicken because I can't do it."
Oh, dude, that was the best part. It was right after, like,
she's that kind of foodie,
bro. I mean, with Crohn's, I tell people this all the time. Like, me being somebody who has Crohn's, it's like I try to tell people all the time. Like, when I go out to eat, I'm like the most simple and cheap date ever because, like, I usually don't veer too far from the things that I know that at least if this is like the least chance that we're gonna have issues with Crohn's, like,
yeah.
And it was funny when I said
sometimes.
that. Hey, bro, I'm just saying. It really like that though, and we talked about that when Swole was on here. And if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But dude, I swear, when you go out to eat, it's like, what's the path of least resistance? Especially like when you're talking about like dates and shit like that, because you're like, the last thing I need to do is go somewhere, and then you eat some shit, and it just don't agree with you, and you're just like, oh, dude, oh, dude, I know it's the worst.
You want that.
And the worst part is it can be like stuff that you feel like you could eat all the time,
every day.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. It happens
Terrible.
all the time. You're already hit, bro. Like I said, that's definitely something we got to get into because it's something we definitely had a good laugh at. And ironically, that's how her and I got to be more cool as it is. Because I don't know if you know, but I knew her from when she was doing the Shine and Evolve stuff, and then we linked up at Starcast and bonded over the fact that, oh shit, you got Crohn's too. You know what I mean? It's funny. It's like one of those things. Oh, you got Crohn's too. You know what this shit's like.
You got antennas. You just draw to each other.
It's fucked up how that shit works. It's like health stuff is like the worst stuff, but it definitely links people up for sure, dude.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, like I said, I'm appreciative of the time. Shout out to everybody that's checking us out on Body Slam and Millions as well. If you guys got questions, drop them in the comments. I know a few people said they had some things they wanted to ask, so the comments are open. But without any further ado, man, like I said, this is something that we've talked about for a while. And with that being said, like, now that you're back out and have gotten to kind of get your feet wet and not just get your feet wet, hit the ground running with the indies. Talk to me about being able to be back in that driver's seat, man. Like, that's something I heard you say with past guests of the show, Chris Van Vliet, that just you being able to do a lot of different things in a lot of different areas was one of the biggest things that was intriguing coming out of WWE.
Yeah, just seeing what kind of options are available, out to pro wrestlers. Like, man, when I was on the indies, for example, no one had an agent. There's such things as agents for indie guys. Like, no, that didn't exist. But like now, it's a way more common than you would think. Like for there to be agencies who allow for indie guys in particularly. So just small things like that, and then acting roles maybe something I want to get into. Like I've always had a dream of being in a Marvel movie. Just
Hell yeah.
just a small part. Just give me a small part. Just give me something quick. 2 seconds of screen time. That's all I want. But but honestly, it's a little scary to be in that driver's seat now because now I'm like, oh well, shit. Where do I go? You know what I mean? There's so many different options you can have, and sometimes you're not sure which one the right one is, but that's part of the adventure, right? Just jump in and see what happens.
I can see how it could be easily overwhelming though, with the freedom to do all that. You probably just want to do so much and so much. Your weekends just fill up out of nowhere, and I could see how that could be overwhelming.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was always like, I'm not home enough when I was under contract, and then now I'm not under contract. I'm working more, and I'm like, wait, I'm really not home now. My weekends do not exist anymore.
Book weekends 3 months out. Yeah.
But does that fire you up at all? Knowing like I said, you've already been hitting the ground running. From shout out to our guys at UPW, Danny Ocean and all them. From there to the Crash to what you've got coming up with Mike Santana and all those things. Is that part of what's exciting about it, in the fact that you are in so many different places, from a Puerto Rico to all the other stuff? You're getting to a lot of different places are getting to see you when I've heard you talk about. I mean, obviously, you had to run in NXT, but you didn't get to really shine the way you wanted to at the end in WWE, and now everywhere's getting to see you all at once.
Yeah, man, that's a lot, but yeah, it's geez, man. When you really think about it, it really is so overwhelming, but then also so exciting. You know what I mean? Because I could literally end up anywhere. I've had thoughts about trying to get it in New Japan, trying to see how that might feel. Might stop by TNA. Me and Mustafa got some things we got to work out. That may be something I want to do one day. There's a lot of options for things. Like if I can find Kota Ibushi and drag him from wherever he is, I want to get that rematch back. But there's a whole list of indie guys that I'm just now discovering, and how awesome they are. And I was like, just being in that bubble for WWE for 8 years, you just kind of forget oh man, there's a whole groundswell of young guys out there doing the same thing I was doing 15 years ago, just trying to make a name for themselves, and they're amazing to watch. So it's the possibilities for me feel absolutely endless, as opposed to, showing up to work and getting in catering and going, well, what am I going to do today? I don't know. And then
you get to do it your way too.
At any point in WWE, though, did you kind of feel complacent? Like you said, you were there 8.5 years. Did it become any time where it was just okay, I'm just coming to work. We're going to see what happens.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now the work is kind of just coming to you, and it's kind of exciting all over. It's like a new form of you. You know what I'm saying? So
right, and then it gives me more of a reason to watch more wrestling too. Because when I find out, who I'm wrestling for the show next week or the week after, I feel I don't know much about this guy. Let's find out. And I go to a deep dive around, sitting watching video and tape for hours about some guy I've never heard of. So for example, I'm not too familiar with Starboard Charlie, but there was a match announced with me and him in Defy that's coming up pretty soon, and I went to a whole deep dive with this guy, and he is incredible. He's a smaller guy, but you know gonna talk about Starboard Charlie.
I was gonna say, bro, that was one of the matches that I saw advertised that I was like, dude, the matchup of that is gonna be interesting, because I'll be honest, I didn't know shit about Starboy Charlie until he had the match with Marco Stunt on GCW Homecoming, and I'm like,
and see, there's so many different shows that I didn't even know that even happened. That's something I want to see.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, that's where I got put onto him, and I got to see him wrestle a few times in GCW here in Detroit and a few other places. That guy is fun to watch. Like you said, he's small, but the guy's got the heart of a lion, and I feel like with your style and that, I feel like it just makes for a nasty matchup.
And, I figured out about myself now. I'm a little stockier, a little bit bigger. I'm not springboarding as much, but I'm still quick. Trying to be a bruiser nowadays. Trying to hit the weights.
Trying to be a bruiser.
There you go.
Trying.
Talking about hitting the weights, another thing that I saw that you've been doing, and I heard you talk about in other interviews, man, is our show gets down with the combat sports side of things, and I've talked to Swole about it, and that she was training some jiu-jitsu too. So, talk to me a little bit about that. I heard you say that you've been exploring the MMA scene and jiu-jitsu and things like that. So, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of MMA. Back when I first became a fan, knew of it, of course, it was Ken Shamrock, with his run at WWE, he crossed over. That's what introduced me to it. But I really, really found a love for it, right around when Anderson Silva was making his debut, knocking people out left and right, like he was in the Matrix. So I've always kind of been a big fan, and I've always had a wrestling background. So I'm familiar with being on the ground and stuff like that, but I never really dove into it. And it wasn't until spending more time with MVP, Shelton, and everything, the whole Hurt business with Lashley and everything, especially that I got into the jiu-jitsu part, because I was the guy who was like, oh, jiu-jitsu, that means I got to wear a gi and all that kind of stuff. And I did judo for a little bit when I was in college, and I didn't like it. The grips with the gis is not for me at all. It just wasn't what I was into. So then I found out that there was no gi jiu-jitsu. I was like, yeah, that's mat wrestling all day, but with submissions. Oh, give me that all day. Then I did that. I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now. And then I jumped into Muay Thai here recently in the last 6 months or so, and started working on these hands a little bit, trying to get dangerous. It's been fun, man. It's just opened up my eyes to more ways of wrestling. Actually, it's yeah. Oh yeah, putting a hurt on someone.
Oh yeah.
Dude, so tell me about, here's the one though. How has been conditioning your shins for that shit is my question. Because I have beat the shit out of my legs doing that stuff.
For anyone who knows me, they know I don't have the biggest calf muscles, so my shins do not like the kicks too much, even though I can throw some good kicks, but I got to work on the callus. I guess I'm building that callus up a little bit better.
Dude, it's funny you say that shit too, because it's like me being the guy that's got cerebral palsy, like my balance and trying to get that down. It was funny. I could almost throw harder with my weaker side because I could base myself better when I first started, because I came from a boxing background, you know what I mean? So voluntarily trying to kick somebody was not where I was coming from when I first started doing it, but it's funny how much. Here's one for you. I mean, how much do you think, you having a wrestling background prior to going into pro wrestling, how much do you think that translates the way it does in MMA?
Oh, you got to have good hips in wrestling, so you have good hips in MMA, right? I think that's a perfect transition. I think me having that strong amateur wrestling background really set the foundation for me as an athlete in general, for pro wrestling, for Muay Thai, for jiu-jitsu. There's not many times where my wrestling kind of hindered me. It always helped me in some way, because I was able to maneuver myself in certain ways. And I was always a guy that worked off instinct instead of thinking, oh, this is how I would technically be able to do this move. If I feel opening, I'm going to get there. And for me, it's always been an instinctual thing. So I just kind of look at it if I can just take those same instincts and put them into my striking and my more technical jiu-jitsu, then yeah, it doesn't fail. And so far, I hadn't yet. I have a 4-stripe blue belt in jiu-jitsu so far. So hey.
Oh shit!
Nice.
You're coming up on me, man. One of these days we might have to roll. I got my purple belt and shit.
That's what I want. I want that purple. Give me that purple. I'll be happy with that. We can get that purple.
Come on with it, man. I like it, dude. We definitely.
Hey, remember, hey, this is big boy weight. All right, this is 225 over here, Jack. I ain't no lightweight. Dude. I like heel hooks. All right, I like heel hooks. Watch out.
By big. You like what? Heel hooks? Okay. Of course you do, because everybody likes heel hooks.
I'm a leg lock guy.
Dude, everybody's a fucking leg lock guy these days. When I first started, it was leg locks were fucking forbidden and shit. Because I started doing jiu-jitsu in 2006, 2007. So it's leg locks were taboo then. Now everybody, because of Eddie Bravo and shit, wants to roll around like a fucking roly-poly and shit.
Bro, I see you guys learn that shit on day one, and I'm like, oh, all right, bro.
I know, and it's just crazy. Like, it's just like pro wrestling, though, right? Like the way the style of what people like to see. I mean, if you think about it, like going through from like the '80s, where it was more like the talkers and the people that could talk you into the building, or like the old school big villain heel, to where nowadays, you got guys that are hybrids. You got guys that can talk shit but can wrestle but can fight, and then like you said, adding the MMA element to it, and how much, like, look at somebody like Lola Vice. I mean, comes over from Bellator and then comes into WWE and is still using a lot of the same shit that she did inside the cage, whether that's spinning back fists, whether that's triangles, whether that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's all so much more integrated, where I feel like back in the day, it was so much more separated. You know what I mean? Like, they tried to act like they were so separated. That's why when we created the show, that was one of my big things, is I was like, dude, the fan bases in combat sports and pro wrestling are so much more alike than people will give it credit for.
So much more like they even themselves they want to admit. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, because sometimes combat sports does pro wrestling better than pro wrestling does.
That's true.
Even though they don't want to hear that
for so long. Like,
but they don't want to hear that though, because they're like, oh, I'm not pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Nah, bro, that's pro wrestling. Chael Sonnen. Just
Chael Sonnen trained at the power plant, guys. I'm just saying.
I didn't know that he did.
Yes, he did.
See, bro, come on. Come on.
Everything's pro wrestling, baby.
We're brothers, guys. MMA guys, pro wrestling guys. We're brothers. We all came from the same
with
lineage.
Al Snow. Al Snow helped train guys for the UFC before he really got big in wrestling. Like, he trained with Dan Severn and shit.
Bro, if you go back and just the lineage of wrestling in general, like MMA, pro wrestling, they're all branched out of the same thing. We're all related, brother. It's all good.
The John Jones and Daniel Cormier rivalry was fresh out of a pro wrestling book.
Hello,
straight up. That was straight up pro wrestling.
I was intrigued. I was watching the freaking YouTube videos about it. The build up for it was like watching wrestling, dude.
And that's a perfect example of the UFC doing pro wrestling better than pro wrestling sometimes.
Yeah.
That whole rivalry by itself.
And it's funny because I just got shout out to Invicta FC. I just did the press conference with Daria Baronato, formerly Sonya Deville, and we talked about that. And I like, one of the biggest things that I'd love to see MMA incorporate from pro wrestling is, I don't know if you remember, like back in the day in the UFC, they had like the big octagon like stage, and then like how you see in Japan, like in Pride, how there's like the big entranceways. That's one thing I would love to see brought back in all combat sports, because I feel like the pageantry to it would make the fight seem bigger. Like if you watch UFC 100%. Now, they just walk out of the tunnel and it kind of just is what it is. Where like when you look at a fight like UFC Noche, the one they did where it was in the sphere and shit.
Yeah.
All the video around it just made it like just nuts. They won 2 Emmys for it, for a fight. They won 2 fucking Emmys for a fight. I'm just saying.
They almost do like the entranceway like they did on Raw last night, the little small video.
I thought that was dope.
You know what I mean? Do that for the UFC. I think that'd make a huge difference.
Yeah, that made that. Yeah. I agree with that, actually. That adds a little more spectacle to everything. It make everyone seem cooler.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Everybody's a superhero. That's what it looks like to us. You know what I mean?
Because, like, in all honesty, you gotta train like a superhero to be at that level. Whether it's UFC, WWE,
they deserve to look great on TV. Why not give them a cool entrance, cool walk?
Yeah, man. Oh yeah,
do it.
Yeah,
I'm with it.
I do that. I support that.
Simpatico.
You know what I mean?
Yo, well, since you brought up, getting into jiu-jitsu because of Bobby and all them, dude, talk to me. I mean, obviously, we know the Hurt business was as hot as things can be in WWE. We've seen that get to be rebooted as the Hurt Syndicate now in AEW. I was just there, like I said. Shout out to everybody that saw the stuff from the press conference with Tony and Hangman and all them guys from Sunday. Talk to me now that you're seeing the Hurt Syndicate. What were your thoughts when you saw them bring that to AEW, and what are your thoughts now that that's a thing again? So I remember when Swole came on, she goes, I was going to wear the new Hurt Business merch and shit. And I'm like, and she was like, told me no. So now when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, now you got to get the new merch again.
Oh man. All right. My immediate thought when I even realized MVP showed up to AEW and then Shelton, I was like, man, I shouldn't have re-signed that last contract, huh? Because like that was something I had dreamed of doing. So I was like, man, should I have really signed that last contract? But I was like, it'd be fun. It'd work out. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be kind of thing. And I just kind of like, just be happy for the boys, and they're doing that thing in another place, and I was just happy for them. And then, I get released. I'm like, so maybe it is meant to be. This is something that I could really look forward to. And then I realized that MJF is trying to make his way in there. I was like, all right, well, let it play out. Let it play out. I'm sure they'll get tired of his shenanigans because he's MJF. Of course, he's gonna screw everything up. Like you know how he works. He's gonna get the big head like he always does.
Dude, of course, it's actually our fault for trusting MJF. Like,
hey,
you got nobody to blame but ourselves at this point.
MVP trust him for a little bit, so I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. But I don't trust him.
You can't. Like I said, it's our fault if we do.
You know why? Because he has a scarf. That's why I don't trust him.
Yeah, no.
People
you don't trust anyone with a scarf. Name one person in the history of mankind that you ever trusted who owned a scarf.
I don't think I know.
Name one.
Own a scarf.
Nope. Unless it's your grandmother. Unless it's your grandmother and she knitted that scarf. Anyone with a scarf you can't trust.
Yeah,
So didn't we have somebody on this show tell us that you had to watch out for people in scarves? Remember we had Aaron Stevens on this show, and he told us we had to be careful of motherfuckers in scarves. And I mean,
full circle moment right there. Look at that.
Can't trust a man with a scarf.
Dude. And we got a couple questions here in the comments. Do you Art wants to know, do you agree with the POV that MVP had on Triple H in terms of he was the whole reason that the Hurt business never really got to its full potential in WWE?
You mean when Triple H took over?
Yeah, like he's saying, like, because MVP has said in other interviews that he thought that like Triple H was also kind of part in the way of why that didn't get to what it could have been. So I think he's asking, do you agree with that, or do you have a different view on why it did never really get to the potential it could have?
Well, I can say for the first run, the original run, when Vince was in charge, it got killed because Vince wanted to kill it for some reason. I can't tell you why. We were doing great numbers as far like in terms of a pandemic where no fans were showing up. We were doing great numbers all day. But, whatever. But in terms of when Triple H took over and they were doing teases to bring it back, he was the guy in charge. So if he wanted it, if he wanted it, it would have been on TV. That's if bottom line.
Do you think it's because they just didn't do you think they maybe just didn't understand the vibe of it and like understand like the whole like the concept of it really?
Yeah, definitely. Because like me personally, when I saw that they more or less tried to redo it with Bobby and the Street Profits, I was like, not that I'm opposed to it because I like the dynamic of it, but I think they executed it wrong completely. Like it just seemed it seemed like something Vince would do, but Vince wasn't around to do that. But it was weird. It
like you tried to plug somebody else into something that was already working.
Yeah, like I don't. Something was always there, and people wanted it, and you said, "Let's give you the light version," and there you go. It's like
instead of just running with it.
And like I said before, Bobby with the Profits, I actually like that dynamic. To me, it's something that made sense, but how they executed it was just completely wrong. They were just completely off base.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and that was kind of always my thought of it. Is it felt like they never truly understood like what it could have been, or saw the vibe or the potential of it. Like where versus now, even watch what's going on with what they're doing in AEW. I mean, bro, I was in the arena on Sunday, and when they come out, the whole fucking crowd, it's like a damn orchestra. We hurt people. You know, like they could have had all that stuff. In WWE,
it's like when a band finds a new front man. It's exactly right. Hey, yeah. From the music guy.
Hey, shut the fuck up! They just did that, and I prevailed, dude. I'm scared because we're gonna go see them in concert in a couple months.
It's just some things you don't need to change, man. You got a good recipe.
You leave
it. You let it be what it is.
Not everything needs a remix,
even
people.
now, like
not everything.
a lot of times that group isn't talked about without throwing your name around in there. So
it can't not be.
It's inevitable, dude. I think we know what's
I
coming.
mean,
you know what I mean?
There's a lot of things coming, guys. Just keep your eyes and ears open. There's a lot of things coming.
Yeah.
All I can say is you definitely got to remember your boys. Shout out to AEW. I just was talking to, they just hit us back up on the thing too. But one thing that you mentioned in some of the things you wanted to do that really intrigued me, and it is one of the things that Swole told me to ask about. Talk to me about, you said New Japan is something that you want to do. What are your thoughts on like the landscape of New Japan? As obviously, I feel like right now they're kind of going through like a rebuild kind of thing in a lot of ways, to where they got to find like that new top star with people like Naito and all them leaving. It also does open up a spot to where somebody else that comes over there could really like skyrocket. What are your thoughts on like the landscape of New Japan, and what excites you about the possibility of that, or is it just Japan?
Well, it is very exciting in the sense. I'm sure it's on my camera here, but yeah, but it's very exciting in the sense that they are in a rebuilding phase. So there's new spots for those young lions to come up and get the siding that they want, and then there's spots for guys like me who want to come in and shake things up a little bit. You know what I mean? I've never really had a full run in Japan. I've been in Japan one time and wrestled a match. But that was for WWE, and I've never got that full tour experience, and I really, really want to get that with New Japan. This is a place I've watched for a long time. Big fan of a lot of the matches that come out of there, and hell, I still want to work with some guys that are still there. I want to work with Goto. I want to work with Zack Sabre. I want to work with Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols a little bit. I want to get in there with everyone.
You know who I see over there that I think would be a great matchup for you, and is also a past guest of this show? I want to see Cedric Alexander versus Ninja Mac.
Oh,
yes.
Did you see that?
I seen it. Jesus. I seen it. Dude,
that
like
was amazing.
Said, that guy wowed the shit out of me, and that's why when we got to do the show with him, dude, I was all about it, because like he hadn't done a lot of interviews, and then I saw him do Bloodsport. Did you see his match in Bloodsport?
I did.
Oh,
I just recently watched that match.
Was it yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was our number one moment for Mania weekend that year, right?
It was, because that spinning axe kick,
spinning axe kick of death,
whatever the fuck that was that he landed, was one of the gnarliest shit I've ever seen in a quote unquote wrestling match. Like, dude, that was badass. Plus, I didn't know until we had him on the show, because we had him on the show after that. I didn't know about his like wrestling background and like things like that too. So in the same things that you're talking about it yourself, with how you have the wrestling background and the judo background and those kind of things, I didn't know he had any of that either. So I think between his style and your style alone, and those elements too, take my money. I want to see that shit.
You name the place, I'll be there. I'd love to get a ring with that guy. I think it'd be amazing.
Definitely gonna have to clip that Ninja Mac if you see that. Just hit your
Ninja Mac. I want you, sucker. I want you, Ninja Mac. You know what? Is this why I make a list like Cody did all those years ago, and I just
I would. Names? What the hell? Why the hell not? Make you a big fancy list and make it in Photoshop and then post it up. All y'all motherfuckers, I want the smoke.
I want. Come get this work.
Right, dude. See, that backflip was so sick.
Sick.
Speaking of which, that leads into another one of the questions we got. Shout out to our guy Andrew and AAO Media. He said, you've been a part of some major moments in WWE, from 205 Live to the Hurt Business. Looking back, what do you think was the most pivotal moment in your career that shaped you to be where you're at today as a performer in person?
Ooh. Oh man, that's a deep one. That is deep. Jeez. Oh God,
we asked the good ones on Knockouts.
Oh man, yeah,
I appreciate it.
Ooh,
you wasn't ready for that.
Stumped them. Look at you.
Yeah, kinda, man. All right. You know what? I'm gonna say the match with Coda, because that match set the tone for my career in WWE from that point on. And you know what? I never really talked about this. But that match meant a lot to me for multiple different reasons. Number one, it was against Kota Ibushi because he was a guy that I've always wanted to wrestle against for years. Number two, they let me call most of that match. So most of that match and all the praise that they got was a lot of my input because, well, I don't want to be like that guy, but Matt Bloom was the producer for that match. And he just let me have free reign. He was just kind of like, hey, kid, this is the kind of stuff you'll be able to do here. You may not be able to do if we sign you and everything like that. So just go crazy. I was like, all right, sweet. And Kota was just coming off, like, I believe it was a neck injury. So if I remember correctly, he was like just fresh off some injury and coming back and still like, just get reps and everything like that. So I was kind of left with like, hey, what do you want to do? Kota was very plug and play. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. Where do you want to put it? And I'm just like, sweet, here we go. Let's just start rolling and pumping out ideas. And it came together so easy. Like, honestly, it was a thing where it wasn't like we had to spend 2 or 3 days calling the match. We gave it 20 minutes. And then it was like, that's why the match means so much to me, because it set the tone of my career. Because like, even throughout my 205 run and main roster run and stuff like that, whenever I had agents and producers like Pierce, Daivari, Shane Helms, they all trusted me to be like, hey, look, do what you want, man. Just get back with us and let us know what we got to know as a producer. But do your thing, kid. And it really meant a lot to me to have that trust in, the experienced workers. And like, for me, I've always been like a workhorse guy. So like, I'm not like, oh, I'm the Big Rock fan or Big Triple H fan or anything like that, where like the guy was always on top. I was more of a fan of like the Rob Van Dam, the Jeff Hardys, the guys who like
I feel
week
that.
in and week out, bumping. Like I'm that kind of guy. I don't want to say his name, but Chris Benoit kind of guy, you know what I mean? Like workhorse.
I mean,
style,
for what he did in the ring, bro, that guy was
what
good.
he did in the ring.
No, 100%. I don't condone what happened with any of that other shit. But just talking about what happened in the ring, dude.
Yeah,
he was fucking dope.
You know what? Let's clip that and go Dean Malenko. I'm a Dean.
I'm totally cool with that too.
Dean Malenko kind of guy.
It's crazy.
Kind of
so many people bring him up nowadays, which is weird. But he's so also just forgotten about. Like in the WCW run. Like, remember his shit with Chris Jericho, dude?
Bro,
I just seen that. That just came on my Facebook somehow the other. I don't know, maybe it's just what I've been searching. But when he unmasked in that battle royal, and that place went crazy. That was probably the biggest pop ever for Dean Malenko, dude.
Insane.
That was so classic.
He took that mask off. It's like, oh, it's Dean Malenko. Like crazy.
Just rolled out of bed because his head was all like fluffy, you know what I mean? And
it was amazing. Oh yeah,
he wrestled Jericho in a pumpkin suit, bro.
The coolest thing about Dean Malenko, dude, I got to interview him one time, and even now, like if you talk to him, he's still like that stone face, but he's got the most dry sense of humor that it's just funny as shit. Because you'll say something and he'll just look at you and be like, I'm like, is he gonna fuck me up or does he think it's funny?
So Dean Malenko's another one of those guys. Like when he was my producer in WWE, we spent most time cracking up. He'll give me great ideas and put in the matches. But man, Dean, I love Dean. I'm a Dean Malenko fan.
Him and Eddie Guerrero, man, them matches that they had in ECW, dude, holy shit.
Classics.
Oh, classics.
Bangers on bangers, dude. I'm with that for sure. All right. So we've talked a little bit about some of the major promotions and things that you want to do there. Talk to me about, I've been keeping up with what you've done as you've gotten back out onto indies. Like, tell me about, you got to have your match at UPW with our guys, Danny Ocean and all them against Diego, man. Talk to me about that match and some of the other matches you're getting into and some of the new talent that you're getting to see. You said it's a whole new crop of guys on the indies. What are your thoughts about getting to kind of experience that up close and thoughts on that match?
Man, it's a little bit humbling to, when you go out and see this new crop of talent that you had no idea exists, but man, they're really good. Like, so you brought up Diego, and I had seen Diego a few times on like some DPW highlight reels, that they put out on YouTube, and I'll see him do something incredible. I'm like, oh, that guy's cool as shit. All right, cool. Can't wait to get in the ring with him. And then lo and behold, here we are having our match. And man, like when you see someone wrestle, you can become a fan because of what you can see them do. But when you work with them on a more professional level, like, you know, as a pro wrestler, putting a match together and stuff like that, it's a whole different. And I gain a new respect for him as a professional. That, man, I'm just a bigger fan of the kid. Like, he carries himself well. He has great ideas. You know what I mean? He doesn't come to a match going, "You're gonna take care of me," or, you know what I mean? He's forward putting. You know what I mean? To me, that's a big thing. Like, let's go into a match with, like, hey, this got announced X amount of time ago. Let's come up with some cool shit. And he's right there with it, man. I love it.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what the one cool thing. And like, that's why I've always said with the show, like, even though we've had like our best success, I guess, in like the last couple of years, getting to do some stuff with WWE and AEW and TNA and all that. But I've always said that, like, whether that's the combat sports side of things or pro wrestling, like, I always want to like have a footprint like in the indies and in like the regional scene of the combat sports stuffs too, especially here in Michigan, because you go to any random indie show, wherever that is, whether that's Texas, Michigan, North Carolina, wherever you're at, there's so much talent that nobody knows about. But if you go to these matches, you're just like, holy shit, I've never seen that before. Or I love the way that this guy could just piss off a crowd of people. That's, I feel like, the best part about indie wrestling, because you almost can go into it with like no expectations because you don't always know who it is. But the good part is you get the sprinkles of having a guy like you. Or like, I went to this past weekend, we went to the Dean. It was the free show they had before the day before Double or Nothing. And you got Bryan Danielson comes out. You had Blue Panther wrestled on the thing. You had a dog collar match. You had Josh Woods come out. You had Rhino from here in Detroit was on the show. It was like the most random like group of stuff, but then you got all the indie guys that are coming through too. I feel like that's got to be one of the most exciting things as you come back out to do any of these shows, because you never know who it is, and then that takes you to like the Crash, like we talked about. That's a whole new world in and of itself.
I'd never wrestled in Mexico before, and it was awesome, man. It was cool. It's really, really cool to wrestle out in Mexico the first time. And I wrestled Dr. Wagner's oldest son.
Kid.
I'm so terrible at trying to remember how to pronounce his name correctly.
El Tio del Dr. Wagner.
Yes. See, I was gonna mess that up completely.
Hey, Kyle, that was what you got. That one good, man. We usually
I was like, that was good.
Here, but...
Yeah, that was pretty good.
El Hijo Dr. Wagner.
Don't try it twice. Don't try it twice.
You got it once.
Yeah, dude, I remember something from Spanish class. I get my gold star for the day. Son of a bitch.
There you go.
See, I was the kid who could like write good Spanish, but I could never say it or pronounce it well at all.
Oh, dude, I got into it because I thought Spanish was cool. But ask me how much of the words I really remember of the shit now. Not really. I mean, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Yeah. I thought it was the cool one out of the ones you picked when you were in high school, and how much of that I actually fucking remember, I couldn't say. Yeah. We're gonna blame that on Crohn's disease too. But you know.
Blame it on Crohn's.
Hey, dude, look, I gotta find something to make it useful for. I mean, between that and cerebral palsy, fuck, they can catch the blame. But dude, that brings me to something I wanted to ask, because I like to try to get into the stuff outside of wrestling as well. And like, one thing that I thought was an interesting topic with somebody like you, you know, I've talked about it a few different times on here about what it's like dealing with Crohn's. We talked about that with Swole, but for you, being on the other end of it and being the husband of somebody with Crohn's, can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, how tough is that for you to have to deal with, like, on the other side of it? Because I've only dealt with it from dealing with it with my own body, but I've seen like how it is on the other side. So that was one thing I always wondered after having Swole back on here and talking about her struggles with it. How is it for you being on the other side of that?
It's horrifying because it's completely unknown. I don't know what she's feeling. I don't know how to treat it. There's nothing much that I can do from my end other than like help her monitor, you know, certain things and, you know, keep her food intact. But like just even trying to imagine what she goes through isn't even enough. You know what I mean? So like I think the biggest part I've played in helping her with the Crohn's is, number one, making sure our medical insurance is all good. So that's the biggest thing. And then number two, just, you know, try to be as supportive as I can with her, you know, and like if she gets stubborn because she doesn't want to get something checked out, I go, no, we're not we're not going down this route. You may feel like you may be okay, but let's talk to a doctor anyway. When I play in these guessing games when it comes to Crohn's, because I don't know and you don't know, so let's just go ahead and make this decision. But other than that, it's fine. It's fine.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, as somebody that deals with it, I mean, I feel like that's always been the hardest thing from being on the other end, is like making sure that like whoever's around, like, not that I've ever had somebody be like, oh shit, you got Crohn's. Like I'm not dealing with it. You know what I mean? But like, it's the internal of like, I don't want to put that on anybody else. You know what I mean? Right. Or like when I'm dealing with whatever I got going on, like I just, especially as a man, you want to just kind of power through it and like, okay, it is what it is. Let me just roll through it. But like having somebody who's supportive of it on the other side, at least makes it like, okay, at least this sucks, but I know that they don't give a shit that I have Crohn's. You know what I mean? Because I think even after you've been with somebody for a while, you kind of like look at it in the back of your mind. Like, I don't want them to feel like they're having to deal with my shit. At least that's how I always looked at it. And I'd imagine she's got to be some of that to the same too.
Oh yeah. But it's always that case of like, hey, we're in this together. We're a team, right? Right. Your shit is my shit. So let's work this shit out.
What's the diet like, Kyle? I mean, I know we don't get to talk about it much, but like, what's like a daily diet look like for somebody with Crohn's like that? Like,
I mean, everybody's body's different because I feel like everybody's got like different triggers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like for me, it's more so like I can't say that I have like the most strict diet by any means, but I just, as I've gotten older, I kind of know like I can eat this and I usually am okay. I can eat this and I'm usually okay. And then it comes down to like the opposite side where it's like, okay, I want to try this, but I know like if it's too spicy, that might not work. Yeah. Or if it's something that's like overly greasy, okay, yeah, I might want to try that, but no, like, okay, this could end badly. Or like, dude, the worst for me, I love ice cream, but as I've gotten older, dairy stuff is like it's Russian roulette. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So it's
that's
like
the big one.
I love ice cream. Big one,
yeah. Dairy, like for Swole is the same thing. It's beef, ice cream, chicken, like too much caffeine even is a little bit sketchy. Like, yeah, she's got a whole list of things. But you know what? Thank God she's a great cook because now she just makes her own food. So like,
yeah. So you're profiting.
Oh my God!
I was gonna say there's got to be a benefit to that because you're probably eating cleaner foods, you're eating better.
Yeah. You know well, see, so there's a caveat. The food is healthier and it's delicious and it's great and everything like that. The problem is Swole likes to cook a lot of food, like a lot. Like it's a family of 3 here with 2 dogs. She cooks like she's cooking for a family of 6. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a lot of leftovers, right? I'm eating well, but sometimes I think, oh God, it's too much. You know? Like she has a habit. My favorite thing that she makes is this peach cobbler without any like dairy products or stuff in it. Like pan, like as big as your face. I'm eating the whole thing. It's too much, but I it's a mission. Once I start, I can't stop until it's over.
There you go.
Dude,
yeah, I see Joey's comment up there, man. I agree with him. If you want to flash it up there, Kyle.
Yeah. I agree with this 100%. And Clash Wrestling, hint. You've been telling me who do I think you should bring in?
Options
here you go.
Here, boys.
We need Cedric Alexander in Michigan facing guys like Jack Price, who's fresh out of TNA. I agree with that 100%. Ren Jones, Alex Weir, Alan O'Ryan, Tommy Vendetta, and Cedric Alexander would be pretty dope. Isaiah Bronner would be dope, or Jake something. I like all those matches. Fuck yeah, run it.
Yeah, run it. There are options, that's for sure. Look at that. You pretty much just sold a recipe on here too. That's dope.
I love it,
dude. I'm with it. See, Art said he may need that recipe.
I'll make sure Swole gets it to you.
Hey, so speaking of that, one thing that she was telling me Vegas weekend, which is the last time we ran into each other, is how stoked you were to be able to be at spring break for that stuff with George South. So talk to me about training with George South and how that helped you with wrestling, but how'd you feel about getting to see him live and in action?
I didn't get to see it that night, so I was a little bit upset.
Damn it.
That. I missed out. It was too much. But training with George is the best experience ever. Like training with George South, you get what it means to be a pro wrestler. Like, that's pro wrestling. You know what I'm saying? George is a very fundamentals kind of guy. Like, by the books, grab the headlock takeover kind of. Like, he don't do too much of the fancy stuff. And like, I think that's why my foundation is so good, because he taught the basics so well, and run them into your head and run them into your head. And like, no matter what I've ever done in a ring, I can still go back to those foundations and go, well, it's just an extension of this back bump, or it's an extension of this roll or something like that George taught me. Like, there's not a lot of things that I've been tossed in a pro wrestling setting that I couldn't handle with some way because of the foundations that he taught me. So he's, and then on top of that, he just called everyone's fruit every 5 minutes, and it's hilarious. I don't know why.
You fruit.
The old Southern man, you know, it just listen. I'm not calling you gay or anything. I'm just saying
you're being a fruit.
You're being a fruit. You're being a banana right now. I was like, all right, George, whatever, man.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right, we got a question from the Quest off of YouTube. If there's one wrestler, current or past, who would be the one that you'd have loved to be able to face?
I say this every time. Great Muta.
Okay, dude. Fuck
Great
yeah.
Muta. Give me Muta.
Which was your favorite version of Muta?
Ooh. That's
See,
hard.
good questions here, sir.
Good question, man. My favorite Muta. You know, I'm just gonna say, just because it was when I first introduced him to Muta, but NWO Muta. NWO Muta was the real one, not the fake one that they had running around.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the fake Muta, fake Sting, whatever one they had to go around. But give me Muta. Give me NWO Muta.
You know what was my first introduction to the great Muta is, you remember those VHS tapes that they used to put out that were like the best of Halloween Havoc and stuff like that? It
My
was
uncle
the
had
best
those
of
tapes.
Yes, dude, it was the best of Halloween Havoc tape, and it was when they did the Thunderdome cage match where it was it was Ric Flair. Was it Ric Flair and Sting versus Terry Funk and Great Muta?
Yeah.
With Gary Hart in his corner, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. That was the first I saw of it, and I'm like, this shit is wild, bro. And then as I learned more about it, and then like, that's why, even though a lot of people say that they didn't like the last run that we've been seeing from Shinsuke over in WWE, like, I feel like he's been the best one I've seen in a long time incorporate like the Muta Mist and like keep that like mystique, like samurai warrior type vibe to it, like he used to kind of have, you know. So like, I feel like even though
I would say Oscar, Oscar was a good one.
Well, yeah, hers too. I just mean, like, most of the time when we see people use mist in like current times, it's always so hokey. I feel like both of them did it like in a way where it was like that, where
it
was
made
like,
it matter. You know what I mean? It
made it mean something. It wasn't just doing it as a spot.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely, I agree with you.
Hell yeah, I definitely agree with that one. All right,
we got Tajiri though. Tajiri, my OG Tajiri.
Yeah, dude.
Yes, Tajiri.
I still do not want to get kicked by that man. No way.
Hey man, that'll harden up your shins right there. Let him kick in the shins a few times.
I've had one tag match with Tajiri, and I every time he kicked, I was like, yes, I'm getting kicked by Tajiri. Thank God.
He said yes, I'm getting kicked
ouch,
by Tajiri.
yes, ouch.
It's like, you know what I mean? You watch him for so long, miss people and give him the buzzsaw kick. It's like, as a wrestler, like, I kind of want him to kick me. I don't, but I kind of do.
We'll pay for this later.
Right.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, you know, that's as good a way as any to like kind of tie it back into what you got going on now. Like, as you come back out on the indies and then ultimately end up wherever the next stop's going to be, whether that's a TNA, you know, an AEW, wherever that might be, you know, like, how does it feel for you to be able to come back out onto the scene when I feel like there's more options and places for people to go now than there like has been in a lot of time? And like you said earlier, like with the way that the indies have kind of been reinvigorated, you know what I mean? Like, you can make a buzz for yourself. I mean, look at a guy like past guest of the show, Matt Cardona. That guy's been on the indies now for a few years, and he talks about all the time.
Indies right now.
Yes, and he says he's making more money than he did when he's in WWE.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, if you know what you're doing, you know, and can really market yourself the right way, dude, like, I just feel like this is a great time for you to really show people what time it is with Cedric Alexander.
That's the whole point of the run, man, is to get out there and show what I could have been doing this whole time for WWE. You know, I just gotta get better with the social media aspect of it. I'm not quite Cardona, but I gotta work on my social media game. But as far as in-ring stuff, man, expect the best out of me because that's what you're gonna get.
No, there's so many landing spots too, man. I just hope you get the most out of it. You know what I mean? Like, while I don't want to see you sit on the sidelines by any means, but
no.
As far as signing a deal, I just hope you get the most out of like the indies before that happens. You know what I mean? Because there's many opportunities and so many names out there that you would mesh well in the ring with.
I'm just trying to be a nomad for a while. You know what I mean? I just want to kind of scope the landscape and get those matches that I never thought we would get. You know?
Yeah. Agreed.
Absolutely.
You got anybody in mind, like off the top right now, that you know it's out there that you just want to get in the ring with ASAP?
Like that you couldn't deal with because of WWE. I feel like that's the most intriguing thing to me as matchups.
Well, we know Ninja Mac is one of them now.
Ninja Mac is definitely one of them. I already got him on the list. Sean Legacy's on that list. He's another guy.
Like
I'll be very interested to get in the ring with. Oh man, now you put him on the spot. Titus Alexander is another one. Okay. It's another guy I want to get my hands on. Big fan of that guy. Big fan of that. It's because of Starboard Charlie and their tag matches is why I know who he is. You know, why how big fan his work. Oh man, who else close can I think of? He got me in the spot right now. Gabe Kidd. Like, I know he's with AEW and everything, but I think he can still do indies, right? He's still a New Japan guy doing New Japan stuff.
I was going to say, he's still with New Japan, so if you end up in New Japan, that's still on the table.
So, you know. And, TJP. I want to get TJP in the ring again. There you go. That's one. That's a throwback I want to get back. Yeah.
You know, since you brought it up, I got to bring it up. Joey asked it in the questions, and I didn't get to throw that one out there, but I agree with it. Let me find it so I can put it up there. Okay. So with WWE acquiring AAA, do you think it'd be a good time to bring back the Cruiserweight Championship?
Oh, God, yes. 100%. They should have never got rid of it to begin with.
Yeah, dude. I feel like when that whole Enzo thing went down and caught the bad rap, they did away with it. That was it.
Yeah, they tried, but it wasn't until I think me, Buddy, and Ali left that they kind of just gave up on 205 Live as a whole. It felt like,
yeah, pretty much.
And then on top of that, the pandemic hit and it didn't make it any easier. So they just kind of gave up on it. But no, they should never got rid of that. Like I think the cruiserweight division or light heavyweight, whatever you want to call it, should have never left because it gives more guys that opportunity.
Right.
To succeed, because no matter who's in charge at WWE or whatever, it's always going to be a big man's game. You know what I mean? You're not always going to have a Rey Mysterio facing Drew McIntyre every time and then expect for Rey to get over every single time. You know what I mean? It's just not everyone can be a Rey Mysterio where they can be, smaller guy and still get the same kind of respect. You know what I mean? And having that cruiserweight, junior heavyweight style exclusive to more of those kind of guys, it really helps, in my opinion. And I don't think it's one of those titles like, oh, we got to have a new title. Like, no, it bars to like, where you're saying like the kinship between UFC or like more other combat sports with weight classes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, as much of a style clash as it is to see like a Big Show versus Phoenix, you know what I mean? Like, that's not something you realistically want to see every single time and be like, all right, Phoenix is going to beat him this time. Sometimes you want to see a Phoenix against Penta, or you want to see a Phoenix against, Dante Martin and let him just go crazy.
I'd have loved to seen you against either of those guys in WWE. Would have been fire. I'm just saying.
I wanted to get that Phoenix Max for a long time, but never could get it.
Well, I'm just saying, dude, once you kill shit out here and make motherfuckers know what time it is. I'm just saying that's one we need to see in the ether before it gets there. Sure. All right, before I ask you the question that we end every show with wrestlers, we got one more for you from the Quest. Who is your favorite person to work with in WWE?
Oh, gosh, that's hard. Top of the list, Ali, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, Those Tony.
All
Nese.
of these guys are in TNA, so they can all happen again.
Yeah.
Well, not Bobby Roode, but
not Bobby, but Tony Nese was another favorite of mine. Arya Davari was another guy I loved to be in the ring with. Chemistry was so easy. Calling matches with him was so easy. Hey, 5 minutes. All right, cool, bro. And then we're done. Yeah, you know what I mean? We just know each other's stuff so well. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I could go on and on for this list, man.
Hell yeah. Well, all right. That leads us to the question that we usually top this one off of. And obviously, like I try to tell people every time before I ask said question, it's not going to be about
etiquette. I love this.
Of course you got to, and it's not what you think of by the name of it. So most people think that I'm trying to nitpick or trying to get you to give me some dirt. I'm going the exact opposite with it. If you had whether this is for you or any advice that you'd give a young guy into the locker room, do you got any pet peeves? We've gotten everything, and now mind you, let me tell you some of the people that have added to this list. Everybody from Josh Briggs to we've had Swoles added to this. We've had let's see, Swerve added to this a couple weeks ago. So if you had any pet peeves or any, everything from wash your balls to keep your baby mama out the locker room, bring your own wrist tape, bring your own squirt bottle. Never be Ninja Mac had one on this when he said, never be afraid to quit. Never be afraid to stay in the ring. Always stay sharp. Silas Young telling people to shut up and listen. If you had anything that you would add to this list or anything that just gets on your nerves with it, what would it be?
Ooh, man. Okay. I think this is a good one. No kids in the locker room.
That's fair.
No kids in the locker room.
No children. No children in the locker room. I think. Just no. Come on,
That's
no
a fair
kids.
one. That's a fair one for many reasons.
Hey, that says what it needs to say. Totally understand that,
dude. Like I understand you kids 15 or whatever like that, but
Yeah.
He ain't 18. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
He ain't 18.
I feel like we need a video package for locker room etiquette now. I get so hyped when we're about to ask it. We need
you never know what you're going to get out of that question. Plus, I love seeing the look on people's face when I say the name of it because they immediately think that I'm trying to so who pissed you off in the locker room? Who'd you fucking not like?
Like, who did you piss off? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, who'd you piss off? Who do you not like? Who did you really want to fuck up? No, that's
do's and don'ts of the locker room.
Hell yeah, man!
I think that's big with just no kids in the locker room. That's my
That's a good one.
I totally can respect that. Well, dude, like I told you in the private chat, stay with us for a couple minutes after we line this one up because I got a surprise for you. But with that being said, hey man, if you've got anything coming up that you want everybody to check out, any matches that are on the horizon that you think people need to be paying attention for, anywhere you want people to check you out, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Actually, this coming Sunday, I'm going to California. I'm gonna have a match there at the big DPW Prestige and West Coast Pro collaboration show. They're gonna do me versus Trevor Lee,
That's a banger
match. I think that's the main event of that show. Maybe, I don't know. But
should be.
Last time I wrestled Trevor, we wrestled for a straight hour, so this could be a long night. Then after that, on the June 28th, I'll be in Charlotte for Ashe, wrestling the gifted one Yaya. I trained him years ago, so I really want to see what he's
teacher versus student.
Yeah. I'm really excited for that one.
See, that's another good thing about the indies. You get to have matches that, like, that was another thing I was going to talk to you about. See, this is why we got to do a round 2 of this. All the people that you've had a hand in training and things like that, dude. And like I said, we had a bunch of people asking about that match that you got coming up with Mike Santana with him showing up on NXT the other day, dude.
Oh, wait, we had that match already.
Or no, that's right. That's right. I got my dates fucked up. I just, like I said, I seen the flyer come across and then I seen the thing with NXT and got my dates fucked up. But yeah, dude, it's like I said, you've got the world is your oyster right now. I'm looking forward to this. I definitely second what they said, and all the Michigan promoters, get your shit together and bring them to Michigan real quick.
I got ties in Michigan, man. I'd love to come back up there.
Come on with it, man. Y'all motherfuckers are always asking me who should we bring to Michigan. Pay attention. I'm with it. So that's as good a place as anywhere to cap this one for this one. We definitely got to do a round 2 of this one. Shout out to Big Swole as well. And you guys got to make sure you hit that. Yes, sir. Man, I mean, she still makes me look bad over here, dude. I try to go to the gym. But, dude, until next time and in between time, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. You never know who's going to be on the other end of this. And just stay tuned. A little birdie told me that we've got some stuff in store. Plus, Clarissa Shields is fighting again soon, so she'll be back to come see us again soon. So make sure you guys hit that button. Peace.